Hello everyone, I'm Michael, or Tarrega if you prefer my Twitch handle. I'm going to take a few moments to describe what I want to do with music lessons via Twitch and why I'm doing it. The first lesson will begin directly after this topic, so stick around and grab your guitar if you have it. I've been teaching guitar, piano, violin, viola, and electric bass for 10 years now, and I began teaching for a local company in Alaska for the majority of those years in 2009. I taught overseas for a few months until I returned back to Alaska and opened up my own studio. And I graduated from the University of Alaska Anchorage with a Bachelor of Music in 2016. And I went through the music education and classical guitar performance specializations over there. So I have a fondness for music theory and composition, and I'd like to share my knowledge with you. So first off, why would we use Twitch instead of YouTube or an in-person lesson? In-person lessons are probably never going to be outclassed by something like YouTube or Twitch, but there's a role that internet lessons can fill that in-person lessons can't. Typical in-person lessons are very focused on each student's progress and abilities on a week-to-week basis. The teacher has a general goal they push towards, and one of the first of which is usually reading music. And we generally try to use different types of music to approach these goals, hopefully music the student likes. If the student practices a lot, the teacher can see the progress, and we tend to push our students a bit harder if they show that quick progression. So how is Twitch different? Well, I don't see your progress because you're not playing in front of me, and there's nothing worse than going too fast for your students. So I'm designing these lessons in a way that's intended to focus, initially at least, on technique. You see, music is a very expressive art form, but mechanical skill is what's required to transmit what we hear in our heads to what we want our hands to do. There are only so many possible movements that our body can make to produce a desired result. I've made sure to include every possible motion between the notes that we learn. For example, between the notes E, which is what we call an open string, to F, we can only do E to F or F to E. But when we add a G, we need to try E to G, G to E, F to G, G to F, and so on. So you can see that the possibilities will start increasing with the more notes that we add, and we will touch on the vast majority of these possibilities. The first few lessons will be restrained musically, but I believe you will have a strong command of how to read in the open position on guitar in a very short time if you play along with me. Ideally, when things are streamlined, I want the streams to be about 80 to 90% music playing that you can play along with, and 10% talking. But when it comes to music theory and composition techniques, then of course we're going to spend more time on talking. You can watch some of my music theory streams, but as of right now, I'm not considering those to be lessons. They're more for me to have an outlet to get my thoughts out for music theory and composition. The lessons will be far more structured than those, but yeah, you're free to go check those out. Those are far more off the cuff, though. Twitch lends itself well to this idea of playing a lot of material slowly because it also has a live chat room, which means that watchers can type in questions as we are going along. And I'm of the opinion that as long as a question is coming from an honest place, it deserves to be answered. So if you decide to play along or even just watch out of your own curiosity, then please feel free to ask and I'll do my best to answer. If you're a musician, you will know that many hours are spent in the practice room, and those hours are usually spent alone unless you're rehearsing with a group. However, if you play along with a live stream, then it can be a fun diversion from hours and hours of solitary practice. In other words, if you're getting lonely or bored when you practice, come hang out with me and let's get better at guitar together. Since I'm aiming for there to be more playing and less talking in these types of lessons, there needs to be a lot of material to play so that we don't get too bored. However, we also need to move slowly enough that absolute beginners can keep up. At the same time, we need the slightly more advanced players to have an option to do something slightly more complex. So I'm writing the vast majority of the content we will be learning. My idea is to allow beginners and more advanced players to play at the same time, and it revolves around giving you different starting and stopping points in the same music. Each line of music will be 8 measures, and the next line will fit the first line. A brief example of this is going to be found in the next few lessons, probably not the first one. Each line will eventually give you faster notes, and eventually we'll have harmonized notes that fit with those. For the first lesson, we'll be playing the same material. Everyone will be playing the exact same material, so there's not going to be any harmonization or any different skill level stuff for different skill level players. So we're just playing through the exact same lines, every single person. So right now my goal is for these play-alongs to reach about 45 minutes to an hour in length, but the first few lessons may be shorter because we have less material to go over. As we add more complexity, the streams will become longer. If you decide to join me in playing along on these streams, you'll need a guitar, of course, but what kind should you have? Well, any guitar is probably okay, but since we're going to be focusing on a lot of finger picking, then I suggest you have a nylon string guitar, which is like what I have right here. It's basically a classical guitar. That said, I started learning how to finger pick on an electric guitar, so I know it can be done. And the same goes for acoustic steel string guitars. That's absolutely fine too. Essentially, any type of guitar will be fine for this lesson, as long as you're comfortable playing on it and it's not hurting you to play on it. Okay, you should also have either a guitar footstool or a guitar support to hold your guitar up for you. One example of that is right here. It's a guitar cushion, and this just contours to your leg and holds your guitar up in a nice diagonal position like this. You want your guitar to be at a diagonal angle with your body, not perpendicular like you most often see. So if you ever see like a country guitar player or lots of rock guitar players, they have it angled more like this, perpendicular to their body. That's actually not good for your wrists. So try to avoid that if you can. This is the more ergonomically way to play it, is diagonally. And that's why we want a guitar support, or you can play it standing up if you'd like, as long as the guitar is held by a strap and is somewhat diagonal. That will give you a nice straight wrist. And the straighter your wrist is, the less you're closing down on your carpal tunnel. Carpal tunnel being this part right here. We do not want that to be squeezed like this. Don't do that. Straight wrist. Guitar tuners can be downloaded on all modern phones, so you don't need to purchase an extra device unless you want to. And we will be using picks for some types of music, but most of the time I think we'll just be doing finger picking. So even if you don't have a guitar pick, that's probably okay for most of it. Your left-hand nails should be clipped as shortly as they can possibly be clipped. And if you want to get the best sound out of your finger picking, your right-hand nails should be peeking out directly above your fingertips. Mine are not right now because I'm playing a lot of different instruments like bass and piano, and the nails are only useful for guitar, so I'm deciding to have more control over my other instruments. But if you really want the best sound, you do want your nails to be peeking up above the edge of your fingertips, just a little bit. So if you hold your hand up like this, not like this, but like this to your face, you want to see a little bit of nails. And you can file those down to a nice crescent shape to follow the general shape of your fingertips. If you have any questions, you can email me at twitch.tarrega@gmail.com, and you can find all of the sheet music I've written for the lessons at my Google Drive folder indicated in the top of this piece of sheet music. At the time of this video, there will be only one piece of sheet music in the folder, but each time we stream, I'll add more. You can also tweet me at Tarrega20, and you can find my Twitter as an extension at the bottom of the Twitch channel. Lastly, I highly recommend watching the VODs, even if you watch the stream, or if you don't want to do that, you can watch you can download the sheet music and try playing on your own. Basically, just repeat what we go over. It's not a once a week thing to play music. You really do want to try doing it every day, even if it's just for a little bit. So find some way of either repeating what we do by either downloading the music or rewatching the VOD, or you can even go and just pick up some other sheet music too, and just try to expand your sight reading abilities that way. So this will likely evolve and change with small improvements over time, and I'm always open to suggestions, so give me a heads up if things don't make sense or if they're going too fast. Okay, so we're actually going to restart the stream here in just like 45 seconds. I'm going to stop the stream and restart it so that we'll have a VOD that's mostly just playing instead of a big talking introduction for those of you who just want to do that. So stick around if you want to play guitar, and we'll get into it. See you in a sec.